So, hello everyone, welcome to Geeks for Geeks School, and this is what we are going to design today using the basic HTML and CSS coding in the web lab environment on code.org. So it's a portfolio page on which there are some images we have defined, and then there is one landscape image which you're seeing at the bottom of this page. Besides that, below these images there is some text which we are able to see, right? And then there is a text right on the top on this portfolio web page on which there is some animation which we are able to see happening. Okay, now how can we design this kind of beautiful portfolio web page? That's what we are going to check out today in this tutorial. So let's dive into the code.org platform and check out how can we develop this beautiful web page. So this is the web lab environment, as you all know very well. Okay, so before we start defining the required code in this HTML document, we can download the required pics for this web page. Now how to do that? We can come on this Google and let me just search for my own image. So 𝙁𝙤𝙙𝙞𝙖 coding. Let's see what are we going to get with this thing. So these are a couple of images which are there on this Google Images. So I'm going to make use of this image. So how can you save an image? You just have to click on that first. Automatically it is going to open up in a bigger window. Now you can right click on the image, and this is a cascading menu you're going to come across. Let's set the save image as option. So it is going to redirect you on one of the location present on your respective device. Now here you can save this image. So I'm saving it with this name, 𝙁𝙤𝙙𝙤𝙤. Let me save it in small. Okay, now let's repeat the same step and save the other images also. So this is the second one I am going to make use of. No, it's not a high resolution image, right? Let's make use of this one. So right click on this image and hit the save image as option. It is going to redirect you on one of the location present on your device. Now let's save it with a unique name on the desktop. Okay, so I'm saving it with this name. Let's do the same thing for the other images also. So this is the third one I am going to make use of for that portfolio web page. It's going to take a little bit of time, but definitely we will get a better result if we'll use good photographs. So I'm done with saving 3 photographs of mine. Let's see whether I can find some more good pics of mine here on Google Images. Save image as, and then I'm going to make use of this one too. So 𝙁4, with this name I'm saving the 4th image. Okay, now how can we import all these 4 images in the web lab environment? That's what we are going to check out. So there is a button named add image which you can see is present right on the top in this bar. You just have to hit the button. Automatically it is going to redirect you on this manage assets window. Fine, manage assets library. Now you can pick this image and drop it over here in this asset section like this, and automatically the image will get uploaded and it will be visible to you after some time in this assets library. Same thing I'm going to do with this second pic. Then let's upload this third pic, and let's upload now this final and fourth pic. So these are the 4 pics we are going to make use of in that web page we are designing. Let's now close this assets library. Okay, now after some time you will be able to see the names of all the 4 images getting reflected in the left side panel like this. So if you'll hit this 𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, this is what you are going to come across. So you will be able to see the image. Okay, and right on the top, whatever color is there in this image, so it will be visible to you right on the top, getting reflected over here. Then here you can see the HTML and CSS code with which you can uh, add this image to your HTML document. Similarly, if you'll come on this 𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, you will get to see the image as well as the required code with which you can add this image to your HTML and CSS document. Fine. Okay, so let's now come on this main HTML document and start defining the required HTML code. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to define a division section, and let's define a class also for this division section. So I'm defining main, okay, for this first division section. Now right on the top, this GeeksforGeeks is getting reflected, right? So how can we get this kind of text? We can make use of header tag. Absolutely perfect answer. Let's do that. H1, and then we can write down GeeksforGeeks. Everything is going to be in capital. Let's close this header tag. Okay, so we are able to see the text getting reflected over here on the stage area. Fine. Now after this text there is a horizontal line. Now what is the tag that you can make use of for getting this horizontal line on this stage area? So there is a tag with name HR that you can make use of for creating a horizontal line. So this is what you are going to get as an output. So there is a horizontal line now which is getting reflected over here. Okay, now let's come down. Fine. Now inside this division section we are going to define the required HTML code for this text also, on which this portfolio is getting reflected. So the tag which I am going to make use of for that portfolio thing is H2, and let's write down portfolio like this and close the H2 tag. Fine. So now the portfolio is also getting reflected on the stage area. Now we have one more text which is getting reflected just below this portfolio text, which says resize the browser window to see the responsive effect. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, and let's now make use of paragraph tag. Okay, and let's close this too, because it is a container element. That is the reason we need to define the open as well as a point where it is ending. Okay, so we are done with defining the required code for these texts over here as well as for this horizontal line. Let's now define the code for these 4 pics and the text which is getting reflected below these pics. So for that, what I am going to do, I am going to make use of a division section. So there is one row and there are 4 different columns. That's how we have to see this section in which these 4 images are getting reflected. One row and 4 different columns, right? So let's now define a division section first, and for this division section I'm going to define a class with name, let's say, row. Okay, so there is going to be one division section for row. Now inside this division section I am going to define again a division section with class name column. Okay, and let's now close this division section. Fine, so this is the first column in which there is a pic and there is some text which is getting reflected below this pic. So we are now going to define the required HTML code for this first column. Okay, now we have one image in this first column. Let's define the code for that image first. Now, how can you access an image? Which tag are you going to use for accessing an image on the stage area of this web lab environment? So the best way is to make use of img tag, right? Img. Okay, now after that you can make use of this attribute src. So src is for source. So the first image that I am going to use is this one, 𝙤𝙤𝙙𝙤𝙤𝙤. Okay, now if suppose by any chance if this image is not accessible on the user's desktop, so I would like an alternative text to get reflected in place of this image. So let's make use of alt attribute and define an alternative text. So I am defining this thing, Gaurav's first image. Okay, and then we can style it also using inline styling. So how can you style it using inline styling? You need to make use of the style attribute. After that you can place an equal to sign, and then in between these two double inverted commas you can write down the name of the property you want to pass the value for of this image attribute, of this image tag. Now I would like this image to always cover 100% width of this web page. So that is the reason I have passed 100% for this width property of this image tag. Okay, let's close this. So now the pic is visible to us over here on this web page, right? Okay, now below this image we need to define a code with which we can get this text, my work, getting reflected over here below this image. Now how can we do that? We can make use of h3 tag, right? Because the font size of this one is somewhat small as in comparison to this one. So for this we used h2. Now if we want to get something like this reflected, we can make use of h3 tag, and let's write down my work over here. Let's close this h3 tag. Fine, so now when you'll come down you will be able to see the text getting reflected over here. Besides this we have one more text which is saying Lorem Ipsum. So for this I am going to make use of paragraph tag. Now let's copy this whole thing and place it in between these two paragraph tags. I need to close this, right? Yeah. Now when you'll come down you will be able to see the text getting reflected like this over here. Fine, so we are done with defining the required HTML code for this first column, right? Okay, now besides this, I would like to keep this column inside a division. With class content. Okay, why am I doing this? Let me tell you, give you the reason. And let me just define the closing part also for this division. Okay, so this is where this row is ending, and this is where this division name for which we have defined this class content is ending. Now why I have enclosed this whole division inside this division with class name content? In the back of this image and text we are able to see some white background getting reflected. So that is the only reason why I have defined this division over here. So this is inside a division with class name content, which is going to help us in getting this kind of view. Okay, right, now let's do one thing. Or else what we can do, instead of enclosing this column inside this content, we can put it like this also. Let's place column first, and after that we can place this content. Fine. Now this division section with class name content is the one in which all the components are present: the paragraph, this header tag, and this image. Okay, and inside this column we have this division tag with class name content. So in this way also, if you want, you can do it. Fine. Okay, now let's copy this whole thing and put it over here. So we are done with defining the required HTML code for the first column of this row. Now we are going to define the required HTML code for this second column. Okay, so I am not going to make any changes in this line of code. Neither we need to make any kind of changes in this line of code. Let's come here and replace this image with the second image, which is 𝙁𝙤𝙙𝙤𝙤𝙤. Okay, and here we can replace it with second. Just a second. Okay, 𝙁𝙤𝙙𝙤 second image, and then style width is going to be 100% only. Fine, and now we can change my work to my profession. Okay, and then here I am changing this text to I am a coder by profession. So now when you will scroll down this window, this is what you will get to see. So the second image is getting reflected over here on the stage area, and besides we are able to see the text also, for which we have defined the HTML code over here. So we are done with defining the code for two different columns. Now it's the turn of this third column. So we can again repeat the same step. Let's copy this whole code and place it over here. So we need not to make changes in these two lines. Let's come over here and replace this image name with 𝙁𝙤𝙗.image, and here it is going to be 𝙁𝙤𝙗's third image. Fine, and let's now change it to career. I have a passion for teaching. So this is what is going to reflect it for this third image. Let's now come down and see whether the third image is going to be visible to us or not. Yes, the third image is also visible to us, and this text is also getting reflected below this image. Let's now repeat the same step and create one more column inside this first row. So I'm copying this whole thing, and I'm going to now paste it over here inside this division, the class name of which is row. Okay, let's now replace this image with 𝙁𝙤𝙗4. Here I need to change the text to fourth image, and then we can change this one to, let's say, teaching in DPS. Okay, fine. So I'm done with making the required changes, and as you can see, everything is now visible to us over here on this beautiful stage area. Okay, let's now go back on that main web page and see what else do we have over here. So now we need to define the code for this image. Okay, the one which we are able to see in the landscape mode over here, and then there is some text which is getting reflected right in the bottom of this image, for which we have to define some HTML code so that we can get it reflected on the stage area. Now what we can do, we can put everything inside this division only. I think that if we'll do that way, it is going to give us the correct output. So let's do it in that way. Let's define a division, separate division section first. Okay, and let's define the same class which we defined for these content over here for this division. So it is going to be content only, and then we can close this division section over here. Now inside this, the first thing that we have is this image. So I need to come on this Google Images and check out if we can get a landscape, a beautiful scenery kind of image. So I am going to search with this name, beautiful scenery images. Okay, so these are a couple of images you are going to come across. Let's make use of this one. This is looking extremely beautiful. So I'm going to first save it with a unique name on my desktop, and after that I am going to import it in the web lab environment. So I'm saving it for now with this name. Okay, let's now import it in the web lab environment. So for doing that, we can hit this. It is going to redirect us on this beautiful assets library. Now we can just drag and drop this image in this assets library once it is downloaded on our device. Yes, so now we can do the needful. Okay, so the image is now getting reflected in this assets library. Let's close this library and see whether we will be able to see the image getting reflected over here or not. Yes, the image's name is now visible to us over here in this window. Let's now define the required code with which we can access the image over here inside this division section. Fine, so the code that we can make use of this for this is img. Let's now define a source. So I'm going to define the name of this image over here in between these two double inverted commas. So it is scenery.jpg, right? And then we can have an alternative text for this. Fifth image. Now you can copy this whole thing and place it over here, because I would like the scenery image to cover the entire width of the web page. So this is going to help us in doing the same. Now let's define the required code for this these two texts which are getting reflected below this image. So we can again select this and copy these two lines of code over here. Fine, and this time I'm going to copy this thing and place it in place of this text, and let's copy this thing and place it in place of this text which is there in between the paragraph tag. Now when you'll refresh this page, this is what you will get to see as an output. So why we are not able to see the fifth image? Is there any issue? Is there anything which we are missing? Let's eliminate this and just a second, let me save it first with a unique name. on my dashboard. So I'm saving this project with portfolio web page. Okay, and after that let me just refresh this link. Okay, so now it is, I think now I will be able to access the image over here equal to, and then we need to place double inverted commas. Why this name is not coming? I think there is some issue. Let's do one thing, let's copy this whole code, okay, and place it in place of this code that we have defined for accessing that scenery image. Okay, now the image is visible to us, okay, on the stage area, so it is perfectly fine. Let's style this image, style the width of this image. So this is a code with which you can easily do it. Yes, so now everything is perfectly fine. Okay, let me just check the whole code one more time. So this is the division section that we defined right on the top, and inside this we defined this h1 tag for this first text. Then we defined this tag for this horizontal line. Then we have this h2 tag for this portfolio, this paragraph tag for this resize the browser window. Okay, now what we are doing, we are ending this division tag over here. But I would like this whole thing also to come in the main division tag. How can we do that? So we can cut it from here, and let's come down, and okay, why we are not pasting it here? So here the division section is beginning, and then the row division section is going to come, column division section is going to come, content is going to come. Now inside this row division section, these two are coming, then these two division sections are coming, then these two division sections are coming, and after that these two division section which we have defined for the fourth column are there. Then this is the one which is actually ending this row. So now it is absolutely perfect. Okay, so what we have done, we have kept all the divisions that we have defined for these four columns inside this division with class name row. Okay, and then whatever is there on this page, whatever is getting reflected on this beautiful web page, we have kept it inside this division, the class name of which is main. Okay, so this division is ending over here right at the end. Fine, and for this section on which there is a landscape photograph, and then there is some text, so we have enclosed this inside in between these division tags. So there is a separate division which I have defined for this section. Okay, let's now come on this style.css file and define the required code with which we can style these components which are getting reflected over here on the stage area. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to define is the box sizing for all the components. So asterisk is the one which you can make use of. Box sizing is going to be let's make it border shadow. Fine, so now this is the kind of change you will get to see over here. Okay, now let's customize the body section. So for accessing the entire body, you just have to write down body over here. Okay, and then let's make use of this background color property. and change the background color of the body. So I'm going to define this code for the background color F1 F1. Okay, fine. Now we can, so this is what you will get to see as an output. Now the background color has changed. Fine, it is the way it is getting reflected over here on the original web page. So it is somewhat gray, right? Background color of this web page is somewhat gray. The similar color we are able to see in the background of this stage area also. Now let's do some padding. Okay, so padding, let's define 20 pixel for the padding. Why I'm defining padding? Because I would like to see some space in between this content and the border of this web page. Okay, so padding is for creating some space inside the component, and margin is for creating some space outside a component. Let's define something for the font family. So I would like to define, let's make use of Arial. This is also good. This is also good choice for the font family. Okay, so we are done with defining the required CSS code for styling these components over here. So this is what currently our page is looking like. Okay, now let's customize the appearance of this division section, for which the class name is main. So how can we access this division section? We can write down the name of the class, but just before that name we can place a dot. So this is a syntax that you have to keep in mind if you're accessing some component based on some class. Okay, write down the name of the class, and before the name of the class don't forget to put a dot. Now inside this, let's define a code for the maximum width. So I would like the maximum width to be 1000 pixel always. Margin, let's define auto. So it is going to automatically pick up the margin. Now let's customize the appearance of H1 tag. So font size, I would like to define a font size of, let's say, about 50 pixels. 50 pixels is a good choice. Then okay, so now this is what you will get to see as an output. So now the GeeksforGeeks, the text which is getting reflected right on the top is now getting reflected in a bigger font. Okay, just because of this font size property which we have defined over here. Now let's define the required code for customizing the view of this division section, for which the class name is row. So how can we access this division section? We guys can make use of the class name. Okay, so again, as you can see, before writing down the class name, I have placed a dot also. Okay, so this is how you can access the class as well as the components which are there in the class. I would like to create a space in between all the components which are there inside this division section, for which the class name is row, and the pages border. So margin can help us in doing the same. So 8 pixel and minus 16 pixel is the value I am defining. Now let's refresh this stage area. So this is what now you will get to see as an output. So there is some more space which we are able to see over here in between the margin border of this web page and this content over here. Okay, fine. Now let's define the code for customizing the view of the division sections, for which the class name is column. Okay, so the first thing I would like to see is, I would like to see all the elements floating in the left side. why I have passed this left value for this float property, just because if you'll come over here on the original page, everything is floating on the left hand side. See, for this, in this first column also, the image, this text and this text is floating on the left side. In this second column also, in this third and fourth column also, everything is floating on the left side. So that is the reason I have passed left as a value for this float property. Now as you guys know that the maximum percent is 100%. So if there are 4 columns and if you want to see them in a single row, so for each column the width that you will define is 100 upon 4. So you have to divide 100% width in 4 different section, or you can say 4 different parts. So for every part, the width that you are going to get is 25%. So let's define a width of 25% for all the columns. Now when you'll refresh this stage area, this is what you will get to see. Okay, so now this is the way you are going to see the content of the column, of all the 4 columns. Okay, now let's come back on the CSS file and define the code for creating the pseudo element. If you guys don't know about pseudo elements, do check out the previous lectures. Definitely you will come to know about why I'm defining this thing. So basically it is for defining the content, okay, for defining some pseudo elements for the components which are there inside this class name row. Fine. So because I don't want to see any kind of content getting reflected over here on the stage area, so I'm passing a null value for this content property. I would like to see a display of table. Okay, and then let's clear both the things. So we can pass this value both for this clear property. Now let's access the content named class, which is this class inside which we have all the content. Okay, this photograph, then this text over here, then this text which is getting reflected over here. Everything is there inside this division section, for which the class name we have defined over here in this HTML document is content. So how can we access this content named class? We just have to write down the name, and before that we can place a dot. We need to place a dot. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to do is let's change the background color first. So as you can see, the background color of this content area is white. Okay, so that's the reason I am passing white for this background color. Now let's do some padding also. So I'm defining 10 pixels for this padding. Now when you'll refresh the stage area and enlarge the window, this is what you will get to see. So now we are able to see some space in between these images. Earlier it was not there. Okay, and the background color of the content area has also changed from gray to white. Okay, so that's how you can get the required output. Now what else are we left with? I think we are able to see this white area in the background of this landscape image also. Yes, it is visible to us behind this landscape image too. Okay, now the only thing that we are left with is this animation, which we are able to see happening over here on this text getting reflected right on the top. Now how can we add this kind of animation to this beautiful text? So what we can do, we can make use of @keyframes. Okay, and let's define a name for the animation. So I would like to define change. Okay, an animation with name change. Now inside this we are going to define the required code. Now as you can see, the foreground color of this text is changing. Okay, how can we make it happen? So let's define the starting point first. So 0%. So initially I would like to see the color of the text to be, let's select aqua. Okay, and then after some time, for this after some time thing, we can change the percentage to 20%, or it totally depends upon you. If you want to make it 30, you can make it 30. Want to make it 50, you can make 50. Okay, now let's change this color to, so after some time I would like the text of the color to change to brown. Okay, and then we can copy this and paste it over here. For 50%, that is after some time, I would like the text of the color to change to crimson. Then after some time, I would like the color of the text to change to, let's make use of this blue color. Okay, and finally it should go black. Now where is that code for black color? Yeah, this is the one. And here I need to write down 100%. Fine, now how can we apply this animation named change on this text? So this text is enclosed in between this h1 tag, right? So we can define the required code for adding the animation to this text over here inside this h1 tags curly brackets. So for adding the animation, we can make use of animation property. Now what is the name of the animation which we would like to apply on this text? The name of the animation is change. So let's write down change over here. Okay, and then after 1 second I would like to, after every 1 second I would like to see the animation happening over here on the stage area on this text. Now I would like to see it for infinite number of time, and because it is taking place along the x-axis, so I'm defining this value also linear for this animation property. Let's now refresh this stage area and check out the output. So this is what you will get to see as an output. So this animation is getting visible to us over here on this text. Now let's see how the page is going to look like when we'll open it on a bigger window. So we can make use of this link and let's open it up on a bigger window. So this is our portfolio page, okay, that we designed today in the web lab. If you want to customize it more, you can add some animation to this part also. Let me help you guys with that. So there is a tag called Marquee Tag which you can make use of for making this text moving on the web page. So where have we defined the code for this text? Let's check it out. Okay, so this is the paragraph tag inside which we have defined the code for this text. Now let's enclose this paragraph tag in between the marquee tag. So marquee tag, and let's now copy this whole thing and place it over here. Because it is a container tag, so we need to define the endpoint also. Now when you refresh this stage area, this is what you will get to see. So you will get to see this text moving from this right side towards the left side. Fine, let's check it out how it is going to look when we will open it up on a bigger window. So this is what you will get to see finally as an output. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed this lecture a lot. Do like and share this video in your group so that it can reach to the maximum students possible, and also subscribe to this beautiful channel so that you can get the regular notifications of the various events happening on this channel. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and also for being with me in this tutorial. Have a great day. Bye bye.